Hello, and welcome to Polyglot Principles. My name is Modja, and I'm a hyperpolyglot who speaks 8 languages, and I speak 4 of those at an advanced level. And this is the channel where I help ambitious language learners go from intermediate to advanced in their target language by giving them a very deep and detailed understanding of the principles of language learning. So today I'm very excited because I have another interview. I did an interview with this guy last time. Unfortunately, there was something with the video. I couldn't download it, so we did another interview. And I'm here with Tony Walks. Tony Walks is the host of Afrolingo. That's a YouTube channel. He's also an engineering student, a business guy, a comedian. There's a lot of fun stuff. I will add, I'll just go to in the description of the video, I will add links to Afrolingo. I really hope you check it out. Anyways, in this channel is also about language learning. So yeah, we're gonna learn a lot today about how to learn languages, how to go from intermediate to advanced, and many interesting things about life. So yeah, welcome Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. So last time we had, like I mentioned before, last time we had a very fun conversation. Yeah, unfortunately, they'll not be able to see it because I wasn't able to download it. But now we have a chance to do this over again. So let's make it, I'm sure it's gonna be even more fun.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about where you are right now. Are you still in, are you still in Germany, or did you go visiting Africa?
No. I'm still in Germany right now. I'm technically on holidays now until from now until end of October, and yes, but I have to renew my visa because my visa is expiring soon.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why I have to. That is why I'm staying here first to extend it before maybe going back to Cameroon in on the holidays in Christmas so that I can see my family here.
So which city, you're living in Germany right now, I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
Still Germany. So which city are you in right now? Where are you living?
It is a small city. It is called Clever. Very small. Even some people in Germany don't even know the city.
Clever.
So
Okay, okay. Is this in the east, the south, the west?
yeah, like northwest. Yeah, it is or maybe just west. Yeah, but it is close to Düsseldorf. I think you know Düsseldorf,
Yes,
right?
I've heard of Dusseldorf. I haven't been there yet. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually really fun talking to you because in next year, actually, I received my admission yesterday to a German university. So
Mm.
next year I'm coming to do my master's. So Germany. So I'm super excited, especially to talk to you. We have lots of stuff in common, yeah, and we'll try to explore some of them in this episode. Okay, so right, but you're originally from Cameroon, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And which city will you be studying in?
I'll be studying in Berlin. There's a
Oh, okay,
university
okay.
called Freie Universität Berlin, so that's where I'm going to be
Yeah,
studying. Yeah.
okay. That's nice. Are you going to be studying in German? Oh,
Yes, yes. I want to
oh.
study in German. So for me, I know you're different because you went to Germany and you're like you decided to study in an English program and then but still learn German.
Yeah,
So part of what was exciting me about studying in Germany is they have great quality education, but also
yeah,
I wanted the opportunity to just immerse myself in something different. So I wanted to take all
yeah.
my classes in German.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a fun challenge, learning the language. I'm still learning it. I still have some time, but yes,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful process.
That's nice.
So yeah, I think it's good if the audience gets to know you a little more. So I think last time we didn't even talk about you live in Cameroon. So how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one brother.
Hmm,
I have three sisters. Yeah, so we are in total five kids.
5 kids. All right.
Yeah,
Okay. So when did your interest in language learning start?
that is a very good question. Before I thought that my interest in language learning started when I came to Germany, but actually no. My interest in language learning started when I was in high school, and then I had this friend of mine, right? He he could speak with a British accent because he grew up in Britain,
Mhm.
and there is something about a foreign accent that just sounds so sexy. So girls were really like interested in him, and I
Of
could see that, you know.
course.
So I really wanted to get that accent as well. So I
Yeah,
was
of course.
trying really.
Get the girls.
I was
Great motivation.
yeah. I was trying as hard. Like when people say stop trying hard, that is what, like, don't try too hard. That is how hard I was trying. Like I was really trying hard. When he would say something, I would literally say it back, but in a lower voice so that he doesn't hear. But I would try to pronounce it like he would pronounce it, you know. So and that just made it very that was really, it wasn't really language learning, but it was already in this group of language learning, kind of, yeah. And yeah, and then yeah, no, actually, before trying to learn the accent, my dad had compelled me to attend a Chinese class in my. There was some Chinese classes going on not far from my house, so he was like, just go and try it out. I went. I didn't really want to learn, but I think it was. I found the classes interesting, but as a teenager, you don't really want to learn stuff. You just want to enjoy life and have fun. So yeah, I think maybe those two were like at that moment. Those were the two things that really sparked my interest in language learning.
Yeah, well, I mean, the part which you said about trying to speak with a British accent, I'd say that's also part of language learning. Uh,
Yeah,
because, like, my view is that pronunciation is the basis, like, sound is the basic of any spoken language. So we're not talking about
yeah,
programming languages, but any spoken language, the basis of them is
yeah,
sound. So pronunciation is key. And I'd say that trying to speak with a British accent was forcing you to also like practice pronunciation.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe that is why now my pronunciation is good in other languages as well. Like maybe, yeah. Yeah. And then after that, what is even interesting is that after I actually practiced my British accent so much that like some years after, right, or maybe 1 year after, this British friend of mine left our school, and then new students came to our school. They didn't know him and they didn't know me, but I practiced the accent so much that I started speaking like that normally, you know, and the new students actually were always asking me like, "Are you from Britain?" You know, and I was like, "This is awesome! Like hard
Yeah,
work pays."
no, that is very good because people
Yeah,
usually
and then
think,
after,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
right.
no,
Yeah, I want to say that yeah, I think that yeah, the connection got a bit unstable. Okay, so people usually think, I've heard this a lot of times, that you can't pick up an accent as an adult, and like you're stuck
yeah,
with your pronunciation. As a kid, yes, if you know, because when kids move to a new area, new country, new place, their accent
oh yeah,
changes. But then say, when
yeah,
you become an adult, yeah, it's too late. You really can't change. You can't learn. a new accent and so on. But yeah, I don't think
It
it. I think you can, right? What do you think?
it is interesting how I don't know why, but it always feels like everything, like it feels like whenever you hear about the idea that society has of being an adult, it feels like being an adult just sucks, because it feels like when you're an adult you can't do anything anymore.
Yeah,
Everybody is like, oh, your health gets worse when you're an adult. Your best life is in university. After that, your life gets worse. When you're an adult, you cannot learn languages, you cannot learn accents. Like, what is wrong with being an
yeah.
adult? Like,
Your brain
I
has
don't
stopped
know.
growing and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many negative things out
Yes.
there about being adults. But I definitely think it is not true, because like actually yesterday, because do you know iTalki,
Yeah, I
the
know italki.
website?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a tutor on iTalki, and I actually had a student yesterday. He is 38 years, and he has been learning French for the past 3 years, and his accent was on point. Like, it
Yeah.
was so on point. And I asked him, I actually raised that point during the class. I was like, your accent is really good, because I know that American people tend to speak foreign languages just like it is American English. They
American Spanish,
roll the stuff.
American French, everything. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Even German. Like, I have had classes with some Americans who were speaking German, right? Some had the right accent, but most of them, I had a hard time understanding as well, because they were not pronouncing
Mm.
in with this good French accent. I actually asked him, and he told me I practiced pronunciation, and I think many people forget that. If you practice the pronunciation, if you practice repeating stuff, you will actually start saying the things out loud that way.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I wanted to say again that after, I don't know if you can call me an adult yet, but like, I think recently I started enjoying the Afro-American accent.
Mm.
So I also literally practiced how to speak like African Americans. And sometimes people also, like, sometimes when I make videos or upload something on Instagram, people in the comments are like, "Oh my God, like, how did you get this accent?" And I'm like, I just really practiced it whenever I see it. And sometimes accent is not even so much about how you pronounce the word. It is also what words you use, because like, for example, mm, like, the British people would say a sentence, and then the American people would say the same thing but in a different way.
Mm.
And once you get the way the British people would say it, you sound more British, even if you're not pronouncing it exactly that way. And once you get the pronunciation right, you are like, some people really take you for a native.
Do,
So I
do,
think those are and like, I think the people can start first of all with learning the way the people that they want to get the accent speak. Just like in France, the sentences, the way they construct sentences, and the things they say in the sentences, is not the way I construct my sentences in French.
uh-huh.
But when I am speaking with a French person, I use the ways of speaking French so that they can understand me more easily.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Can you give me like an example of, let's say, a sentence that, uh, I mean, if you can think of one right now, because it's just kind of spontaneous. Yeah,
Yeah.
do you have some example of, let's say, a sentence that an American would say, and then the same sentence, how a British
Yeah.
person might say it, where it's just the words, not really an accent thing, just the words?
Okay. Like, my British friend, he always used to, like, for example, I think there is always, for example, they always try to use words that have a G and a T, that have like the T, because they have a different way of pronouncing. And like, for example, my British friend would say, we've got to go for. My American friend would be like, let's go for a walk. Like, would you like to go for a walk? Something like that, you know. But like and I don't even know if that is not that easy to see. But like, for example, if I put in a British accent, it will be like, oh, we've got to go for a walk, because they always pronounce it that way. But then if
Yes.
you're speaking in American English, and then you sound more British if you use it the way they are using it. But if you take an American sentence and try to sound British, it is harder, you know. So it is just, or for example, in French, like yeah, French have they might say, for example, they all what do they even they always use some kind of words that sound very romantic, you know. They always use some of these very weird sounding words, but when I speak French, I just speak it normally,
So
you
this
know,
is
like, for
like, because
example.
in Cameroon they also speak French, and the way
Yeah,
Cameroonians
yeah, we
speak
also.
French is different from the way French people from France speak French.
Exactly, exactly. Like, for example, what can I even say? Hmm. Oh, yeah, like, for example, I don't know, for the people who speak French people would be like, first, like, they will be like, sound, like real words that nobody in other countries use, like vachement. Do you know the word vachement?
Vachement, vachement,
Yeah,
vachement,
vachement
vachement.
is like you are like so much. Like, if I'm speaking with you, it would be like, oh, tu es très intéressant.
Yeah.
But they are like, oh, tu es vachement intéressant. Ça c'est like something like that. Or I'm trying
Oh
to
yeah,
think
I've
about
never heard
something
this
else.
word. Vachement, vachement means really, right?
Yeah, yeah, it means really,
Okay,
yeah. Or
okay.
or mm, also, like, this French slang called verlan,
Verlan? No, I never heard of it.
where they take the word and inverse the order.
They
That
change
is
the
more
order of the
people's
word or
thing,
the order of the
like,
word in a sentence?
no, no, they change the order of the word. Like, for example, they would say like, ça charmé means like it is like méchant, but
Yeah.
they switch it. And then,
Ah,
yeah, you know,
I see.
if
So
I
the
am if,
word is,
if
okay, the word is méchant, which means
yeah,
kind of cruel, or in English, and then, but they say charmant,
yeah, or wicked,
or
like,
wicked. Yeah,
yeah, you say
charmant. Okay.
charmé, so they are like, ça c'est vachement charmé, which means that is really cool, that is really awesome, that is and but if I'm saying it with not with an African friend, I would be like, oh, ça c'est trop cool. Or
Mm.
like, in Cameroon, I would say ça c'est la magie, ça c'est la magie, ça c'est le désordre. Like, this is disorder. It is so cool that this is like bodily, that is bothering disorder, you know.
Yeah,
But if I'm speaking with a French person, I would sound less French if I say it in my Cameroonian way.
yeah.
Or another example, while saying this, it came to my mind again. My British friend always used to use the word wicked. And like, he would be like,
Wicked.
"That's wicked, bro."
Right.
Yeah, or like, "That's wicked, bro. Mad. That's mad, wicked. That's bad." You know. So if I want to sound British, I would use wicked more than if I'm trying to sound American. You know.
Wow, that's interesting. So did you consciously do this?
Oh, I was like, the thing is, I analyzed his accent for such a long time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that I actually started seeing the difference, you know. And I noticed that if you never hear them, like if the words that he regularly uses are the words that I know how to pronounce in a British way. If he never uses a word, I would not know how it is pronounced in a British way. So I was just focusing on the words that he uses all the time, you know.
Okay. Wait. That's yeah. That's interesting. Okay. This is nice because
Yeah.
there's probably people in the community who are interested in acquiring a particular accent. Right.
Yeah.
Because I think I've experienced this before also, where I'm trying to learn. Uh, right. So for example, when I moved to America, I developed an American accent, but it was unconscious. I don't recall doing it. It just happened over time because I guess I'm so impressionable. But anyways,
Yeah.
right. So the many words I learned how to pronounce them the American way, and certain words that Americans don't use or don't use often, I still pronounce them the way we used to pronounce them in Africa.
Exactly.
Right, and that's because you're saying that's because well, you haven't heard people use it, so you haven't had the opportunity to know how it's pronounced.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I think I had another. Yeah, like also for the American, for the Afro-American. I don't know. Are you versed? Like, do you hear a lot of? I think in most movies, a lot of people hear Afro-Americans. You know, they are always like, for example, like they always use, for example, this word "son." What's up, son? You know, like or what else? Like this. I don't really. The thing is, it is hard to remember it when you're intentionally. You know, it is hard to remember it intentionally.
Yeah,
But like
let's call it the exam effect. Before the exam, you know everything. When the exam comes and you need to reproduce answers, they're
exactly.
all gone. Okay,
Exactly.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
The African American accent is definitely different. Oh, you know, actually, I think the Americans call it African American. No, I don't think Afro American. Yeah,
I think they even have another. There is actually a word for it. Like somebody told me that once, and and then I looked it up, right? And I think actually, yeah, it is called Ebonics.
Okay, Ebonics. Yeah, okay, but that word is
Yeah,
out of usage.
yeah,
Nobody really says that anymore. But yes, you know, one thing I like.
yeah,
Have you ever listened to Chris Rock talk? Chris Rock is comedy.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, Chris Rock. He would be like, I know. He's like, oh, how does he talk again? Ah, and his voice is always very loud. Oh, have you ever listened to Chris Tucker? Do you know Chris Tucker?
Chris Tucker. The name sounds familiar, but I don't think I remember him.
And also like Afro American. Damn, man, goddamn. They always,
right. That is a Black American
sound like
thing,
that,
yes.
you know, like they always, yeah, goddamn, bro.
Yeah.
What you talking about, man? You know,
You're
they use
tripping,
those
man.
words. Yeah, you're tripping, man. You're tripping. Son, goddamn, that ain't right. That ain't right. God,
very
man.
good.
God. Yeah, and then for example, for the British people, they would be like,
they also like using dog.
Yeah, dog. Yeah. Or for the British people now, they'll be like, ine. They'll be like, oh, that's wicked, ine. You know, like ine. They always use it. But I've noticed that ine is more like for. I've noticed that the Africans in Britain speak differently than the white people in Britain. They will be actually learning English. This thing that you put at the end of the sentence, like like would you or
Yeah.
isn't it, or
Yeah.
yeah, they always use that. They are um like or like that is that you would like to help me, wouldn't you? They always say
Question
that, or
tags.
like I had this. Yeah, they always use question tags. I
Yeah.
don't know why they use so many
Oh
question
yeah,
tags,
I found
but they,
another.
if you listen,
Yeah.
they,
I was saying I found
yeah.
another African
Oh,
American one. Don'tcha. Instead of saying don't you, don'tcha, won'tcha.
yeah, yeah. Right now, my accent is more African American. Like, oh my God, that is crazy. What you talking about, man? Oh, God damn, son. I can't believe this. I can't believe this, man. Oh, bro. I'm. They also use this word, finna. I'm finna call 911 right now, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Finna. Yes, yes, yes. That's finna. It's like
Steve
it's
Harvey. Do you know
yeah?
Steve Harvey?
Yes.
Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey
Steve
always
Harvey.
says that. And, yeah,
Always
and
uses
Steve
finna.
Harvey is proud of his like poor grammar, which is amazing. Like
Yeah, yeah. And like I love the way Steve Harvey speaks. I also like actually tried intensely
to speak like Steve Harvey.
to speak like Steve Harvey. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah. Like,
interesting.
actually, a lot of comedians, of black comedians in America speak that way, and I love the way they speak. So I always try to sound like them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think this is like because I've had the fortune of meeting black people in different parts of the world, Africa, America, listening to black people from other places. I think one really cool thing about black people is I think we find a way to make everything cool and interesting, whatever it is. Like just even black Americans will take English and make it exciting.
that's
Just
true.
it's like
Right.
black people have a way of bringing life to everything. Animation,
Yeah,
beautiful. Like and people like
that's
I
true.
noticed like in Congo, right? Because I'm in Congo right now, and even here, like my relatives and people around they rarely speak in a low volume unless they're sick, right, or depressed for some reason.
Yeah, that's true.
But they always speak in a loud voice. It's
Yeah,
just people are excited. But if you
yeah,
go to like
that's
yeah, right. But if you go to America, sometimes you can find like kind of people are a little stiff, more reserved sometimes, except for
yeah,
the youth. The
yeah,
youth are different, but people speaking in a low
yeah,
volume, trying to, like be
yeah.
professional, I guess.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, like for example, if I'm walking down the street and I see a friend from afar, I'd be like, "What's up, man?" But
Right.
like no, but here the other people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
They would feel uncomfortable doing that.
They don't want to call
Yeah.
attention
So
to themselves, I guess.
yeah,
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 yeah. It's just a
exactly.
difference in culture, I think. Okay.
Yeah,
That is very, very fascinating. But I like what you are pointing out there. I think basically learning an accent, I think anyone can learn an accent because they were able to learn the accent of their native language. And
yeah,
it's really just a skill, I think. I think it's probably a good way to think about it. Learning an accent is a skill. And
yeah,
like any skill, if you practice correctly, you get better.
exactly.
I've had people
Yeah.
tell me it's impossible to learn an accent as an adult. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's very possible.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know why our society has so much negative stuff about adulthood. It makes you feel like you shouldn't become an adult. Everything is negative about being an
Being an
adult.
adult, yeah, yeah, which is sad. Uh, no, actually, being an adult is fun. I mean, I made a video which says what is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Something about why kids suck at languages or something like this. Basically,
yeah,
I wasn't like being hard on kids. What they do is amazing to learn a language, but I was saying that an adult shouldn't learn at the pace of a child. That's like
exactly,
right.
exactly. Like we are at different. we have different different things going on, you know.
What I mean is just, for example, how long does it take a kid to learn a language? And so think about from birth.
Mhm.
From birth, a kid will take a
Yeah,
year without being able maybe to say anything. And maybe around a year and
yeah,
something, they start speaking. And then it takes them
yeah,
a couple of years to be able to read and write. So let's say
yeah,
7 years for a kid to be able to like read, write, speak, listen comfortably in a language. Right? But that's okay because they're a kid. But an adult shouldn't. It
that's
shouldn't take
true.
an adult 6 years to do that. Does that make sense? Because an adult has,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's true. Yeah, yeah, an adult has,
right. Well, I wanted to say that an adult has, your brain is more developed. Right? You have an idea. Like a kid doesn't know what a language is, but you have an idea of what a
yeah,
language is. Your brain is now more developed. You have learned strategies for learning things because you've learned many things before.
yeah,
How is it? How
yeah,
does it make any sense that you should learn a language slower than when your capabilities were lower? See, it's
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And an adult has more resources, you know, because kids, like for example, an adult he knows how to make the most out of the resources, but a kid does not. A kid just enjoys whatever is there, you know. Like for example, I would watch a video in Chinese and make a summary of it, you know, like maybe a small essay. But a kid would not be like, okay, I'm going to watch this episode of my favorite show and make a summary of it, you know. So that is definitely
Yeah, I feel like
something.
yeah, adults, people who are no longer kids should the bar should not be set low to the level of a child. It's
Yeah,
understandable for a kid because they're starting out, but as an adult, you should be able to learn faster than a kid.
yeah,
Otherwise, something is wrong. Why is your skill level
yeah,
going down as your capability
yeah.
increases? Doesn't make sense.
Right. That is really, that is so true. And again, at the older you are, the more money you have to spend on learning resources,
Yes.
you know. Because like when you're a kid, your parents decide how much they are going to spend on your learning resources, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They might feel that it is all right for you to attend a class in your school, but they and feel like it is too much getting a private tutor, you know. And that might slow down a kid. But if when you as an adult, you can decide to pay for all the resources you want, you
Yes,
know.
yes, right. That's
Uh,
correct.
yeah, that is, yeah,
So we're talking about accents before, and so now there's a bit of debate in the language learning community among polyglots. Some believe
yeah,
that to learn, to master, to be fluent in a language means you must sound like the people who live there. And others think you don't have to sound like the natives to be fluent in a language. So
yeah.
where do you fall? What do you think? Is it necessary to sound like a native or?
I don't think it is necessary to sound like a native, because I understand, like for example, a simple example, Southeast Asians very pronounced when they speak in English, right? But I can understand the problem might be if you don't speak, if you the more your accent deviates from a native accent, the harder it is for the native to understand you. But the native has a learning curve to get used to your accent. And once he gets used to it and how you pronounce words, he will start understanding you, you know. So it might be harder for you in the at the beginning, but it is not that. But I don't think it is like a requirement, you know. I think it is just necessary that if you don't have the native accent, maybe try to speak slower, you know, because sometimes people who don't have the native accent would still speak like 100 words per second, you know, and you
Nobody
don't know
has
what
any
is
idea
going
what
on.
they're saying.
Exactly. But
Uh-huh.
if you speak slowly, the person has the time to slowly and clearly, you know. Slowly and clearly does not mean in the native accent. It just means that you try to make sure that whatever is coming out of your mouth is not disappearing because you're closing your mouth. But I think it must not be. It's not like a requirement.
Wait, what did you mean there? Like whatever is coming out of your mouth is disappearing? I didn't understand. What does that mean?
Oh, I mean, like, because sometimes people speak and like they speak, but they think they are speaking loud, and whenever it you might, so has it ever happened to you that you're talking with somebody and then they say something and you feel like you have understood it, but then you notice that you have not, and then
Right,
you
a
ask the
lot.
person to repeat, yeah, and then you ask the person to repeat, and they repeat it, and you feel like you have understood it, but you still, you are just like in this space of, I feel like I know what they are saying, but I don't know what they are saying as well. And that is what I mean. Like they are speaking, but it is just disappearing. It's
Oh,
like,
interesting
yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So just speaking out slowly, clearly. That is how, because a lot of people, like for example, say about French that the accent is very different. So it is hard for them to listen and understand when they are talking to natives. So when I am speaking with somebody who is not a native, I slow down more clearly, and yeah, exactly. So I always slow down my friend and speak out clearly, and then they understand me better. If you have noticed, teachers do that a lot.
They slow
So
down.
I guess if you're, yeah, so if you're learning a language and you think that you cannot learn the accent or you don't want to learn the accent, then just do what teachers do. Slow down, speak clearly. People will understand you.
Okay. So you mentioned
Yeah.
before that there is a variation. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, let's go to the variation. But just with the, okay, before we go to the variation in accent, let me just go to something you said before, which was about words disappearing. Also, typically in any language, I notice with all the languages I know, people tend to not pronounce the entire word.
Yeah.
So, it's like
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
stops the word in the middle. Let's see, for example, you know, this is like a normal part, just it's efficient if you're trying to speak quickly, that people don't pronounce the last
Yeah.
letter. I'm trying to think of an example. uh, like
Mm,
maybe exam effect, all the answers are gone now that we're looking for
yeah.
them. Okay, let's see, maybe cat. If you're speaking really quickly, you might
Yeah.
forget the t, the cat,
Yeah.
the cat's outside. Oh, actually the t is still there. Do you have a
Yeah.
good example of this where we tend to omit the last omit
Mm,
tend to omit the last letter? Oh, I just said it now. We tend to omit the last
yeah.
letter. You see that the T is almost not being heard.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, yeah, I totally understand what you mean. Yeah.
Mm. I think
And
actually.
also like
Hmm?
to combine, to mix as well, like I think Americans do this a lot, where when they speak in English everything just rolls together, like I don't even,
Yes.
like they just it just, and French does that as well very
Yes.
much,
Yes.
so it just it just flows together. So if I am learning French and my accent is not good, if I try to make the sentence be one word, the person will not understand what I am
Yes.
saying,
Yes. Yes.
because
Ah.
because it is based on the pronunciation that people understand when you speak at high speed, you know.
Yes.
But if but if people but if the pronunciation is not right, you need some more time to understand what is being said. So that is why it is easier to get for the natives to understand you when you speak slower.
Right. This is good. Actually, just when you're speaking an idea, yeah, I got an idea just from other aspects of learning. So basically, when you're starting a language, you're taught the basics of the language, like how to
Yeah,
pronounce things correctly, how to write things correctly. And then as
Yeah.
you become more advanced, you start breaking those rules. And
Yeah.
so
That is so true.
your teacher told you to pronounce every word and the last letter, everything correctly, completely. Right? You're supposed to
Exactly.
say, "Do you know what I mean?" That's a full sentence.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
We've just cut out a lot of stuff. Or like
Right. Yeah.
African Americans will even say, "Nah, man." So that's a,
Right. Yeah.
"Do you know
Nah, man.
what I mean?" Nah, man. Right? But
Yeah.
it's like the person knows the
Or
person.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like there was also oh, it's I.
I. Yes. It is
I
all right. It's I.
right, but it's I.
Yes, yes. So it's like this is interesting. These guys learned the basic rules of how to speak. They know how to speak properly, but because they're
Yeah.
more advanced, they can break the rules, and they have an agreement about how to break the rules. So they're breaking the
Yeah.
rules in the same way. Right?
That is so
An accepted way to break the rules.
that
Uh,
is so true.
yes. Now, if you don't
Yeah.
speak with their accent and you break the rules
Yeah,
in your own style, they don't understand. Because
exactly.
this deviation from the rules is not accepted by them as a way to.
Yeah, just like for example, if you're like with the African accent, if I go to America and I'm like, Massa, it is it,
Yeah.
like they will not understand what I mean,
It.
like
What is it?
yeah, if somebody asks you like, oh, are you doing all right? Is everything is everything all right? And I'm like, it is it, my friend, it is it. They will not know what you mean.
Yeah.
But
What is
but your
it? Yeah. Correct.
what is it? What is it?
Yeah. I don't
Yes,
understand it. Yes.
right.
But you're
So,
right.
but if
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but if the person says like, "Oh, is everything alright?" and you're like, "It is all right, my friend," they will understand.
Yeah. But they might think
That
you're a
is
little
that is the
slow. It's like,
yeah,
what's wrong?
exactly, exactly. But
He's
that
speaking
but
too
they will
slow, too
understand
boring. No,
exactly.
it is all right. Too long.
Yeah, too
All
long,
right.
too long.
Okay. So that's interesting. The other issue you talked about before is variation. Basically, there is a native accent,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
the more you deviate from the native accent, the harder it is for them to understand you,
yeah,
is what you're saying. So when I teach my guys, I talk about correct. I call it like a zone of correctness. Like, there are a couple of deviations
yeah,
that are still correct. Uh, for example, think about English. Okay, let's use
yeah,
English as an example. The American accent and the British accent deviate, but these deviations, because they're different from each other,
yeah,
but these deviations are
yeah,
acceptable as correct. And if you live in America and you live in the UK, you can have your own deviation. That's a mixture of American accent and British accent. That's also still correct.
exactly. I think that is where I am at right now. Like I just mix both.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So
But
some,
people still understand.
yeah, that's the key. But you see, some people would say, no, you're supposed to learn, you to really call you fluent, someone can say this. To really call you fluent, you have
Yeah,
to speak English only with a British
yeah,
accent, then or only with an American accent, or only with a specific native accent. Some people say
yeah,
that. Otherwise, you need to keep practicing to be able to speak like certain people. And I say,
yeah,
all you gotta do is get in the correct zone, like the correct deviation. Once you're able
yeah,
to speak a correct version of the language that everybody can understand, then
yeah,
you're done. I not you're done. You can always get better. But
yeah,
what I mean is that at that point, I would say someone is fluent if they're able to speak correctly and they're within the right deviation from the other accents that are accepted. I don't know. What do you think? Because you
yeah.
really sound like people from one region.
Yeah. Another thing, another problem about this is for the languages that are very widely spoken in the world, some of English and French, right? When you like, it is difficult for Americans or French people to understand when an African person speaks exactly like he would speak with his people. You know,
Yes.
if the way I speak with my African friends, if I speak that way to a French person in French or to an American person in English, they will have a hard time understanding me.
Yes.
But I grew up speaking that way, and I am call it a native accent as well, you know. But the problem is some of the countries, their accents are seen as the right accent,
Yes.
and some of the other ones, the accents are seen as wrong accent. So if a Chinese person is learning French the Congolese way, right? Maybe
Yeah.
because I don't know, he spent an exchange year in Congo. When he will speak with a French person, the French person will feel like his accent has a problem, you know,
Right.
whereas it is not. Whereas it is not right, you know, like the just because he doesn't speak like a French person doesn't mean that his accent is not is it has a problem, you know.
Yes.
So this accent thing as well, it is like, which accent will I learn? Will I learn the American accent? Will I learn the British accent? Will I learn the Australian accent? Will I learn the Nigerian accent? You know. So you need to speak to use this particular accent, maybe the British one, to be fluent. Then we got a problem because there are a lot of other accents that are also native accents. You
Yes.
know, that is
Correct.
why I just say that if you speak slowly and clearly, that is all right.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic. I think it also involves, part of it is also about a bit, it has an aspect of also, we could say, being comfortable, or in a sense, loving yourself.
Yeah,
What I mean by that is, it's because, like, let's say you're born in Kenya and you speak English, you're speaking English really
yeah,
well. Now, someone
yeah,
might tell you, your accent is primitive because you don't sound like a British
yeah.
person. Now, you could,
Exactly.
yes. And there's many people, let's say in Africa and other parts of the world, who might feel this way. And it's like, no, you're speaking English correctly, right? You don't have to
Yeah,
sound like other people. You
yeah.
can be yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. The only problem is what actually makes people sound the reason why people want to learn a particular accent is because that is the main accent they are hearing. That's the main accent they are getting from the media, you
Yeah.
know. And to understand different if, like, for example, I am watching Chinese shows, right?
Yes.
Some of them, if some Chinese shows are in English, used in English, their accent will be present in these shows.
Yeah.
But because I am watching the shows regularly, I will get used to the way Chinese people speak English. And then whenever I will meet a Chinese person, I will not have a hard time understanding them.
Yes.
Just like with Nigerian shows, you know.
Oh, do you watch
I
Nigerian movies?
Unfortunately, I don't.
Ah, okay.
but, but I have a friend who watches a lot of them, and
I
sometimes I
watch a
watch.
lot of them also. Before, I never used to. I used to think,
Yeah,
yeah, this is boring stuff. Better watch like some serious, let's say, American movies. Yeah. Then
yeah,
now I watch them and it's too real. So
yeah, yeah, exactly. I watched one, I think last year, and it was actually really interesting. So I think it is just lack of representation, you know,
yeah,
because maybe somebody from Britain will be like, oh, the person who is from Kenya speaks, but I don't understand. His accent has a problem. but it is just because they have never been exposed to your accent, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah, I was looking
Yeah,
at it more from the point of view of the person. There is a fine line, you see, because you can also, for example, certain people it will switch their accents because of lack of self-confidence. They
yeah,
think other people are better. The Americans are superior to me. I have to speak like them.
yeah,
But someone also can fail to learn English properly, and they claim that they're trying to be themselves, but really they just don't want to change and get better.
yeah.
There's a line there to tread.
That's true.
But yeah,
That's true.
yeah. I
That's true.
wonder. I wonder
Yeah.
how when
I
you
mean, like,
German.
say,
Yeah.
try and get try and get the accent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, try and learn accent.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think maybe what one can do is basically, or at least what I tell my guys to do is when you're learning the language, just be totally open and allow yourself to be molded by natives. When they say, "Oh, you say it this way," you just follow the pronunciation. So
Yeah,
you go with the assumption that the natives are correct and you're wrong. I
yeah,
think that makes learning very quick. And then you reach a point where you have your own version that's correct. It's a correct version. Uh, and by when I say correct version, I mean when you speak, everybody understands you. You can understand others. You can write and read. You're using the language at just an advanced level. At that point, it's okay to be yourself. You have a correct version also. Just be proud of the version you have,
yeah,
as opposed to saying, "Oh, I don't sound like these people, so
yeah,
I gotta sound like them." But at
yeah,
the same time, if someone works really hard to sound like somebody from another region, like let's say you work really hard and you speak in such a way that people from France can't tell that you're not from France, that's also an amazing accomplishment.
yeah,
It's also another form of really, it's
yeah. That is,
amazing to see also.
yeah,
So, okay.
yeah, exactly, exactly. You're right.
So last time we talked about the plateau. We talked about some fun stuff there. I think it'd probably be good for the audience because most people in the audience are at an intermediate level or advanced and they're trying to become more
Yeah,
advanced. So they face the plateau a lot. So
yeah.
yeah, I guess let's start by what do you think are the causes of plateau? Why do people reach a
Mm.
point where they're not getting better?
Like I think, like I said last time,
Yeah.
we are getting better, but we don't see the improvement as quickly as when we are at the beginners level. Because even when you're at an advanced level, you're getting better, but you don't see the difference, you know. Now, for example, my German is so much better than it was last year.
Hmm.
But during the course of the year, I didn't see the improvement. So I could have said that I was at a plateau, but there was this thought that when you're at advanced level, it is like you're finished. It is like there is nothing else to learn. You know,
Yeah,
like
that's
that is
crap.
the
There's
I
a
think that
lot
is
to
the
learn.
concept about. Yeah, but like I think that is how many people feel about the advanced level. You know, I felt that way about it. Like once I'm at an advanced level, I don't learn anything anymore. Because when you're at an advanced, most of the time, people reach an advanced level and then start learning a new language because they feel like it is time to move on. You know, but at the intermediate, the advanced and the intermediate are actually pretty similar because you're improving, but slowly, so you cannot really see it, right? So the cause of a plateau is just that you have reached a level mm, where you are exposed to more, when you are being exposed to more words than you know. But most of these words are just synonyms or different ways of saying the same thing. Because like I feel like at an intermediate level, you can have conversations with people and talk about different topics. But these people, if for example you would say I am going to Germany next holiday, and then the person will be like, oh, so you're traveling to Germany next holiday, and you're like, what is traveling? What does that word mean? You
Yes.
know, but that word is just a synonym
Going.
of of going. You know, so when you reach the plateau, it is just that there are a lot more synonyms that you will start encountering, you know, and but because when you're at an intermediate level, you can actually speak. You know, have you noticed that when you're at an intermediate level, you actually can get into conversations with people,
Oh, yeah.
and sometimes you are amazed at how much you can,
Yes.
and sometimes you're amazed at how much you can say. The problem getting content. The problem is not in putting content, it's not in the output. Yeah, I think that is the thing. At beginners level, the problem is in output. You don't have so much out, you cannot say so much. You cannot talk about many things. But at the intermediate level, you can talk about many things. But whenever you talk about it, you said, but in a different way, but you don't know this different way yet. So at the intermediate level, you're just learning different ways to say the same thing, you
Okay.
know.
So
And that is, yeah, and I feel like that is the reason for the plateau, because now you have to learn how to say the same thing.
all right.
And since you're practically learning how to say the same thing, you don't feel like you're progressing because you're actually kind of at the same level.
All right. So you've said a couple of stuff there. Let's see if we can
Yeah.
just break it break it down. Okay. So
Oh,
one thing you're saying is, oh, sorry, I do have the flu.
no problem.
I hope it's not Corona. The government will come and take me away. All right. Congolese government takes me away. Okay. So what I'm saying is, yeah, you've mentioned a lot of stuff. So one thing that could be happening when one is in a plateau is
Yeah.
they're actually not in a plateau in the sense that they're actually getting better. They just can't notice it.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was easy. At the
Yeah.
beginning, it's easy to notice improvement. Like if I start out a language not being able to say anything, if I'm able to say, oh, my name is Modja, that's wow, amazing.
Yeah.
The
That's true.
improvement can easily be seen. But now you're
Yeah.
saying when you get to an intermediate level, it's harder to see maybe you're improving, but you can't see the improvement.
Yeah. Because the improvement is in a lot more, is in the stuff that you're improving in is not very measurable, you know. Like
Okay.
for example, you're learning different ways to say the same thing. Grammar is getting better as well, but people don't measure your language abilities in how much grammar you know, but in
Yes,
how
yes.
much so you're learning the stuff, you're getting better at the stuff that is not really used to measure improvement in
Yes.
language learning. So
Right. So,
feel like you're not
like,
improving.
if you could say something and you find a different way of saying it, like, I'm going to
Yeah,
Germany and I am traveling to Germany. So that doesn't feel like
yeah.
a huge improvement. It's just a
That
small
doesn't feel
change.
like anything at all. Yeah, like you're just saying the same thing, you know.
Yes.
You're just oh my god, I can say it in many different ways. It
Guys
does,
are like, ah, you
it
could already
doesn't
say it. What's the big deal? Looks
exactly,
amazing.
exactly.
Or maybe, I see. Okay. Um, right. Okay. And then over time, of course, like you said, right, over the year, your German has gotten much better. But during the process, within the year, you couldn't tell the difference because you are learning small things,
Exactly.
right? But you're saying these small things add up over time.
Exactly, yeah. Because, like, for example, you're learning different ways to say the same thing, right? But then after a longer period of time, your like for example, this always happened when I was speaking with my teacher.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would construct some sentences and she would be like, that is really good,
Yeah.
because maybe instead of saying like, I don't know, like instead of saying that it is, instead of saying, for example, it is necessary to be spiritual, I
Yeah.
would instead say like, spirituality gives you a lot of fulfillment in life. Now I sound more cool. I sound more like a member of. I feel like that is what that is how my. I feel like that is what starts happening at the intermediate level. You speak less raw language, and you're trying to get to a level where you can literally play with the language, and
Yeah.
start
I like
sounding
that. Yeah.
more like literature. Yeah. But people don't measure language learning that way.
No.
you know People don't measure language learning on how sophisticated you can speak, but like, what can you say?
This is correct. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, people. Yeah, people eventually realize the sophistication, but after you've accumulated a lot of wins.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. After you've learned a lot of sophisticated words, after you've learned a more sophisticated grammatical structure, yeah, that people then notice that, oh, he's that is really good.
This guy has gotten
And
better.
also,
Yeah.
and also, even though you're learning, even at the intermediate level, right? When at the plateau, you're learning these new words, but you don't really use them because you are used to your previous way of speaking. And even if you start using these new words, it will sound weird, like you also need a grammatical structure around it to sound more sophisticated. You might learn sophisticated words, but you cannot just throw them within your raw language,
Yes.
and that is another reason why I feel like you might not see progress, because you're learning this stuff but you're also not using it.
Okay. So
Yeah,
now we have a fine line to tread because certain people. Certain people think that okay. So let's say I'm in a plateau. I can't see improvement. It could be that I
yeah,
am improving and I don't know about it, or it could
yeah,
be that I'm really not improving.
yeah,
So that even if I wait after 1 year and I watch a video of me speaking 1 year later, it's pretty much the same.
yeah,
It's like probably you might experience this in your native language. For example, in English, this is my native language. Uh, let's say compare my speaking in English right now to how it was 1 year ago. It's really not that
yeah,
different, you see. So
yeah.
how do you know whether the improvements are happening but they're small, or whether you're not improving at all?
Mm-hmm. That is a good question. And my German teacher gave me the answer to this question. She told me, just keep learning.
Oh no, no, that's not an answer. Like, yeah,
All right.
like oh,
But that is what she told me. But I feel like for example, for the native language, sometimes we reach a level in a native language where it doesn't even matter to us anymore if
yes,
we improve, right?
yes, that's
I don't
correct.
I don't think you're trying to improve your English or your
No,
French
no,
right
no,
now.
that is not a
Yeah,
goal. If I improve,
that
it's
is not
great, but it's not the goal. I can use it now.
right. Yeah, even if my abilities reduce, I still don't feel very concerned about it.
Yes,
Yeah. So, but when it is your target language, the thing is, because like you've been exposed to your native language for a long time, and now you practically know as much as you need to know. But then when you're at the intermediate level or even the advanced level of your target language, you haven't been exposed yet to a lot of, for example, in English, I'm sure you've been exposed to a lot of literature. Maybe you studied it in school, you know, your teachers were like, oh, let's read this book from Shakespeare.
Chinua Achebe.
But in yeah. But then in your target language, you haven't been exposed to this. A lot of people who are even at an advanced level have never read a book in the target language, or maybe they have never made a presentation in the target language, but you have definitely already made presentations in either English or French, you know.
Right.
And I think these are the things that show us. I think there is another way to measure progress at the intermediate level, because the intermediate level at the plateau, you can speak with people, but I think it is very hard to give, for example, a PowerPoint presentation, you know.
Yeah.
Because like now you need to speak, not only speak, but you also need to control your anxiety, you know. And that was actually a goal of mine when I was at the intermediate level plateau. I was like, I want to be able to give a PowerPoint presentation in German. And after some months, I did maybe 2 or 3, right? And then I felt like, okay, I have hit this, I have gotten past this barrier. And then I bought a German book to read, you know, not these books that are like, oh, German for beginners, not the simplified one. I bought one that I know that German people are reading, and I read it. You know, I feel like that is another thing. If you're at a plateau right now, I would advise you maybe to get a book that native people are reading and try to read it. It will be, depending on where you are in your plateau, it will most likely be very draining to read this book, because you will understand 40% per page. I remember the first book I read in German, and I think I was at the intermediate level at the plateau. It was so draining. I wasn't even understanding what was in the book, right? I was just reading the book because I wanted to be able to say I read a book in German.
Did you look up the meanings of words in the dictionary as you read, or you just tried to understand from context?
I was just reading and was trying to understand from context. But then when I got my second book in German, the difference was so great. And that also gave me a feeling of like I have progressed, you know. And I think I said it last time. I said that when you're at a plateau, it is just that the resources you have been using are not challenging you anymore. So you need to find resources that will give you a sense of challenge, but not of overwhelm. So
okay, yes, that is key. We talked about that. I think it's correct to repeat it here. Yes. But because you mentioned that one reason why you might be stuck in a plateau is because everything you're doing is comfortable. You're not challenging yourself. So once you start challenging yourself, you're confused, and so you're getting better.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe like another thing. So one of the things that I would advise people who are in a plateau is buy a book in your target language and read it. You will see, once you have read 1, 2, 3 books like this, you will start seeing, you really see the difference will be up in your face, that now because what you read in a textbook, a language textbook, maybe B1 level, is very simplified, you know. But when you get a real book, not the grammatical structures are different, you know. They use a lot more sweet talking. French books, I read French books and I'm like, what are they talking about in this book? Because like the French that they are using is just some milky French, you know. I'm like, okay, let me just focus on the main stuff, you know. So you get a book. What else did I say? Yeah, maybe like try to do if you're like an outgoing person and you like maybe you do presentation. If there's a opportunity for you to do a presentation, you can just, if you're taking a class, you can volunteer to your presentation about this topic, and then you do it. Another thing is, when you're at an intermediate level, you can communicate with people one-on-one. That is all right. But it is very hard for you to communicate in a group of people. Because
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
when you're communicating one-on-one, the person is subconsciously assessing how good your skills are and is adjusting to your skills.
Yeah.
But when you're speaking in a group of people, nobody is really thinking about, okay, Modja cannot speak French very good. Because other people can speak very good, so they feel comfortable speaking the way that they want.
Yeah.
And once you get more used to speaking in a group, you will also see. So when you speak in a group for the first time, you will feel frustrated, and that would be now your goal. When you will be able to feel comfortable speaking in a group, you will see that I am making progress
So
and I am
you're
leaving the
not
platform.
talking about making a speech here in front of many people, but like you're just many
No,
friends talking in a group, and
yeah,
nobody's trying to
exactly.
slow down for you. You basically have to rise
Nobody,
to their level.
exactly. Exactly. That is the good. You said it right. In this situation, you have to rise to their level. So, because like I think at the advanced level, the difference between advanced people who speak at an advanced level and at an intermediate level is that is why I said presentation. Presentation, you have to you have to think about different stuff. Because when you're at an intermediate level, you can speak right, you can speak good when you're focused on the language, when you're laser focused, when you're thinking. Sometimes you're not even listening to what the person in front of you is saying. You're just thinking about what is the next structure that has to come. What is you're like you're not in the moment with the person. You're just thinking about the language in your mind.
Yeah.
But at an advanced
Ooh.
at an intermediate level, you cannot really are you there?
Yes, I'm here now. Yeah, there was a bit of a disconnection, but I'm back.
Okay. So I'm saying like when you're at an intermediate level, you cannot be multitasking. You cannot be assessing your emotions. For example, if you're trying to if you're on a date at an intermediate level, you cannot do a date with somebody else because
Huh?
you're assessing your anxiety, your emotions are blocking you from thinking about the language, so you cannot speak all right anymore.
Yes.
But when you reach the advanced level, you can manage all of that. And that is why I would recommend trying to do presentations, because you're also anxious when you're doing presentations. So you're already training yourself for the advanced level of managing your emotions and your thoughts while speaking at a comprehensive and while being comprehensible in your speech.
Okay,
And
okay.
then you have
This is just a moment. This is a interesting concept you've brought up here. Yes, because I think I talked about this in one video I made
yeah,
about. I was talking about self-correction. I think, but anyways, the point was there are emotional factors that come into play when we are speaking. And
yeah,
sometimes, if these emotional factors can take over to the point where, even if you're a native speaker, like when you go to an
yeah,
interview, you're a native speaker, you go to a job interview, then you can be barely coherent. If someone listened to you
yeah,
speaking, they could think, wow, this guy has no understanding of the language. Yet you speak well, it's just you're under a lot
yeah,
of pressure. And so that your skill goes,
exactly,
like your brain stops working pretty much. So, and on the
exactly.
other hand, even if your level is not so good, but you're emotionally stable and you keep your emotions, you manage your emotions, you can perform at a level
Yeah,
that's really high. And people think you're much better
exactly.
than you actually are. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
do you have any solutions for how to like keep these emotions under check? In particular, I'll give you a specific
Mm,
example. Oh, okay. Or you could go and answer it this way then.
Mm, that I would say that to get the emotions in check, you have to put yourself in the situation regularly. My first time with it was like giving a presentation in at my university. There was this language event, and I did a presentation there. After that, I got this job as a fundraiser in which I had to because we in which I had to meet people in the streets and convince them to give donations to an NGO, for example, UNICEF or something like that. But I had to do it in German. So here, the first one I was doing presentations, people were looking at me. I had to focus on okay, the order of my presentation. What am I? How is it going to go through? You know, while speaking as well in a comprehensible way. And then the other one was being able to get my point across, but also in the way a salesperson will do it. Because salespeople, it is very psychological. So I'm thinking, I'm reacting to the person's body language. You know,
Yes.
I am thinking about what should I say, what should I not say. But while all of that is going in my head, I am still speaking with the person.
Yes.
And at my first time doing this job, I could do it, but it was very hard. But the more I did it, the easier it became for me to keep my emotions in check. So you just have to do it often to
Okay,
get
okay.
used to it.
So this is like just repeated exposure. This is the method you're suggesting. Right. So
Yeah,
kind of if I have difficulty, if let's say I keep freezing up when speaking,
yeah,
the key is to continue to put myself under conditions which will be emotionally difficult for me, and then eventually they'll become normal, or I'll be used.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, actually, I could like there's a book that came out, hustle harder, hustle smarter. 50 Cent.
Yeah,
He just published a book.
that's
It came on. It was published on YouTube, I think illegally. So I listened to like one
yeah,
hour of it before it was taken offline. I was like, oh man. But anyways, in the book, in this book,
yeah,
50 Cent was describing as a kid he took up boxing. And
yeah,
he said, I think the first time when he started boxing, I mean, you just get punched all the time, and
yeah,
you're not able to focus, and it's just
yeah,
too overwhelming. But after a while, you get used to the punches, and you're able
yeah,
to stay stable even under the influence of punches. And actually,
exactly.
yes, yes. And I mean, one athlete, there's a particular fighter. He also wrote a book, The Art of Learning. That I
Yeah,
recommend that book 1,000,000,000%. In The Art of Learning, the guy talked about he was training in Tai Chi, and he was
yeah,
given an opponent who was bigger and stronger. So for like months, this opponent would just hit him. He was always like flying across and just hitting walls. He was being beaten
really.
seriously, yeah, like every practice, every practice. And then he said, but
Yeah,
he kept coming. And then he said, I reached a point where the name of his opponent was Evan. I reached a point
yeah,
where I could take the punches, and
yeah,
Evan began to move in slow motion.
yeah,
Before, everything was happening so fast. Before he knows it, he's on the
yeah,
floor, he's hitting a wall, and so on. But now
exactly.
everything is slowed down. He can think and he has possibilities. So I think that's what you're talking
Yeah,
about, right? You put yourself under pressure,
yeah,
and then after a while, you begin to see more and you become more comfortable with pressure.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, because many people
Yeah,
freeze up during interviews, but maybe in a year they've only done 3 interviews. But
exactly. Yeah,
or your
yeah. If
entire
you're
life
going to,
you've only done 10 interviews. Of course you're gonna.
yeah, exactly. Like that is really that way. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, if you want to move past the intermediate level, you need to learn how to control your emotions while speaking coherently. So you just need to find situations in which you will get that training. And an example for that would be like maybe doing a job in which you need to speak that language, or doing presentations, for example.
Yes.
Another one is you need to be able to speak with people, um, if who are not trying to make it easier for you to understand them. And
Aha.
that is where speaking in groups of people
Yes.
helps, right? There is this app called Meetup. I use it, and it is, you just find a lot of people around you who are doing activities. Maybe sometimes it is language exchange, sometimes it is yoga, sometimes it is playing tennis,
Uh-huh.
anything. And I used it to practice this skill of speaking in groups
Uh-huh.
for German. And then there is the skill of understanding like complicated literature,
Uh-huh.
you know, exactly. Because like sometimes you watch stuff, and for the purpose of making the language beautiful, they make it complicated. And you
Yes.
can learn that skill by reading a lot of books. If you don't like reading books, you can get audiobooks. And so I think doing these three things would really help you transition from the plateau to the advanced level.
A more advanced level.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, there's also okay, so there's this book I read called Mastery. Not There's two
Yeah.
books by this title, both of them excellent books. But this one is by an Aikido master. And he was
Yeah.
saying that actually if you look at the learning process, the process of learning any language, um, if you look at the graph, it's mostly plateau, okay, slightly steep
Yeah.
plateau, and then you experience a huge jump. You're like, wow, amazing. And then your skill goes down actually a bit, and then you're stuck
Yeah.
you're then in another plateau. But it's not really a plateau
Yeah.
in the sense that you're improving, but it's a slight improvement.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you notice it. Oh my goodness, I've gotten better. You're up again, and so
Yeah.
on. So basically, he was pointing out the fact that almost our entire life, let's say we're learning something, almost our entire experience with the language is going to be in some sort of plateau. And so he was
Yeah.
saying we should become accustomed, like we should actually embrace the plateau, because it's like most of our time is going to be spent there.
Yeah, exactly. That is what my German teacher told me. Yeah, that is why she said like just keep learning, because just get used to it. Yeah.
Yes. Just get used to it. Most of the time, you're not going to feel like you're improving, but if you're doing the right things, you really are. Okay. But I brought
Yeah.
this up because, uh, you see, what I mentioned there, having the mindset of, oh, this is another plateau, no big deal. I just got to work through it and then I'll experience progress. I'll have a jump later. This is like a
Yeah.
mindset thing. So I guess the question I'd like to ask you is, how important is mindset in language learning, at least in your experience?
That is a very good question. For me, not even only in language learning, but in everything, mindset is very important. Mm, I think you need, like, there is this cliche people say, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. But that is true. If you love the language learning process, even when you're in a plateau, you would not really feel that frustrated, because actually, because of the plateau, you're getting to spend more time with the language. And another thing is like, look at the plateau, you can already do a lot of stuff with the language. You can speak with people. So that is, just embrace it, like you said. Mindset is very important, and just try to love the process.
Love the process. Yes, that is absolutely key. In fact, uh,
Yeah.
I mean, my own thinking, based on what I've seen, basically every time you correct a mistake, you've improved. Every time you correct a
Yeah.
mistake, you've improved. In fact, improvement is
Yeah.
making less mistakes over time. So if I make
Yeah.
right, so That's really what it is. So if I make a mistake, like, oh no, if I make a small improvement, like, oh, I'm going to Germany, and I say, oh, well, actually, another option, better option, say I am traveling to Germany. That's like
Yeah.
for me, like my mindset for that is I also feel proud of that. I'm like, oh, I've corrected a mistake. I've just improved a little bit, but I've just
Yeah.
improved. And so this is kind of the enjoyment. So the enjoyment is coming from correcting mistakes. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
couldn't say this and now I can say it. I couldn't spell this, now I can spell it. And then you just enjoy these small changes. And then after a while, you're like, wow, I've just gotten tremendously better. Because these small
Yeah.
changes add up, like we said. Okay, but so my question is, what mindsets does one need to have in order to learn a language? Let's put it that way. Like, just, or pretty much learning a language or learn anything. One is embrace the process.
Mm,
What else have you found to be useful?
mm. You need to be ready to learn. Many people say, I want to learn a language, but they are not ready to learn. They don't want to make mistakes. If you don't want to make mistakes, you're not ready to learn. You know, you need to be ready to you need to want to make mistakes. You need to be seeking for mistakes, because the more you seek for mistakes, the faster you learn, you know. And also that is another mindset, like, you do you really want to learn? Are you ready to learn? Are you ready to make mistakes and get corrected and accept the corrections? That is a mindset that I think is very useful.
Yeah.
What else?
Usually, just a moment.
Yeah,
Usually, it's
so
very
love the process.
right. I have a bit of a question there. So, for example, being able to accept correction. Usually, it's difficult to accept correction.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
yeah. Let's say you say something that you thought was right, and I say, "Oh no, that's wrong," and then
Yeah,
you feel a certain way, maybe a bit upset, or you can
yeah,
start defending yourself, saying, "No, I said it correctly, and here's the dictionary to prove it," and so on.
yeah,
Uh, so why is it difficult to? Because the correct mindset, like you're saying, is to accept mistakes, to welcome them, in fact, and
yeah.
especially to be happy about corrections when people point out your mistakes. Oh, that was wrong. You should do it like this. Why is
Yeah.
it usually hard for us to accept correction? Why do you think that is?
I think it is because when we grow up, especially as adults, the mindset that everybody has about an adult is an adult doesn't make mistakes.
Oh,
So once we grow up, because kids be making mistakes all the time, they don't care,
yeah,
like,
they're expected to
right?
make mistakes. They don't know anything.
Yeah,
He's a kid.
they don't know anything. He's a kid. But then for adults, like, we even see it in the way we interact with each other, like maybe somebody makes a mistake and their friends tell them, I cannot believe that you could fall for this, like, just look at how cruel that is. I cannot believe that you fell for
Yes,
something like this.
yes.
So the person just feels it is not all right to make mistakes, and I think we need to break out from this mindset, because we need to look at it in a different. The person just needs to look at it in a different way. If I'm making mistakes, then I am moving forward. So I think it is just because of the way we are getting conditioned. The older we get,
Okay. Yeah. So we are
Yeah.
conditioned, even in the school system, we are conditioned to,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the best student is the one that doesn't make mistakes, is the one that gets
Yeah.
100%.
The one that memorizes all the right answers. So when people are learning languages, they are trying to memorize all the right answers. Don't try to speak the language, because they are memorizing the right answers and putting them down in their books.
Yes.
But if they go outside, they will see that, yeah, just
You're
yeah.
cheating. So, sorry, repeat that. You're saying the connection was a little bit unstable. So you were saying, So in school, sometimes people are just taught to memorize the correct answer. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So how does that connect to language
I
learning?
do.
Yeah.
Mm, people like how, like for example, look at this. When you're if you're learning how to play tennis, for example,
Yeah.
you get a tennis coach, and you don't buy a book in which you see all the tennis moves,
No,
in which
no.
you see how you go out there and make mistakes, and your coach corrects you. But for example, in the school system, we we memorize like this. Literally, we memorize thousands of words just so that we can put them down in the exam and pass, right? And in the language learning, a lot of people do that as well. They memorize all this stuff, but they don't use it. They, like for example, they memorize a lot of vocabulary, they memorize a lot of grammar rules, but they don't use it. Because how do you make mistakes? You make mistakes when you use them. When you use, so for example, like writing stuff down, writing essays and giving your teacher voluntarily is you making mistakes. But a lot of people don't do that.
Yes.
Speaking with natives means making mistakes. A lot of people don't do that. But a
Yes.
lot of people have these have like these apps where they can where they can play and enjoy. But they are not ready to go out there and try actually speaking the language, even though sometimes they can already speak the language,
Yes. Yes.
but
Correct.
they still limit themselves.
Okay. So how do I do? Because I understand this. Even in school, sometimes if you got a bad grade, that was a bad thing. You're supposed to get the perfect grade. Supposed to get everything
Yeah,
right. But, so
yeah.
I understand that we're avoiding mistakes. So the question is, well, what can someone do to be able to welcome mistakes and be able to go out and seek out mistakes? Are there any
Mm.
steps one can follow to do that, or is it an
That is a
inborn
good
thing?
question. I don't think it's an inborn thing. I think being ready to make mistakes. Because when we are babies, we make mistakes. To learn how to walk, we make mistakes. We stand up and fall, and stand up again and fall again.
Yes.
But then we learn how to not make mistakes. I think we just need to. I think the easiest way to do it is start step by step.
Okay.
Like for example, maybe if you have a tutor, go up to your tutor and be like, what can I do to get more correction to use the language? That is key. Ask yourself, how am I? If you're not using the language, then you're not making mistakes. Once you start using the language, you will start making mistakes.
Of
So just
course.
try to use the language
Yes. Well, okay.
little
So yeah, the part is like, okay, maybe.
little,
mm,
little by little, maybe. Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. 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 So let's suppose that, let's say, for example, in your case, let's say you're using a language, and then you make, let's say you're speaking and then you make a mistake. You said "I happy," but you should have said "I am happy," something like this. And then I correct you and say, "No, that's wrong. You should say it this way. You should say "I am happy," not "I happy." So I tell you that. And then when I
Yeah,
say that, you feel a bit of pain, like maybe a little upset. Right?
yeah.
How do you handle that, let's say, feeling, or what do you do with that in order to ensure that you're continuing to learn?
That is a good question. I was speaking Chinese with my Malaysian friend yesterday, and he was doing that quite often.
It was correcting you a lot.
And it was actually, he was correcting me a lot. And it actually what people can do. People who, but I know that that is what it takes. But for people who don't feel so comfortable about it, that is why I recommend getting like a teacher or a tutor, because we have this mindset that if it is a teacher or a tutor and he says that I am wrong, I feel if I am talking with somebody who is maybe just my friend and he says that, oh, you said this wrong, you know.
I see. So we are already used to
Yeah, we
taking correction from teachers. That's not so painful.
exactly.
Okay, okay, but a
That's
peer,
not so painful.
right? Or it might not even be painful at all. If a teacher says, "Oh yeah, that's wrong. You should do
Yeah,
it this way." Like, okay, teacher
yeah.
said.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you. Yeah, the teacher said this, and then you remember it more easily. You accept it more easily.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, that's very good. So another method I use is it's like it's almost like the principle of auto suggestion in Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
But so the idea is basically you want to reinforce a certain idea. So in my case, sometimes I have people
Yeah.
give me feedback, and they don't always say it in a kind or nice way. They just direct. They don't have time for niceties, which is fine. So someone will just be like, "Ah,
Yeah.
that's wrong," or they'll say that's wrong and laugh at it, right? So okay.
Yeah.
So now I don't know how to make myself not feel bad about it. So I'll feel an emotion like upset, like,
Yeah.
goddamn, a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I do is I just say a few phrases in my head to help me in such moments. So I'll
Yeah.
say something like, uh, basically, I'm not diminished. I'm not reduced by that. If someone says I'm wrong, it just means my
Yeah.
usage of the language is wrong. It doesn't mean I'm less of a person. So
Yeah.
the first thing, I'm not diminished by this.
Exactly.
And then that helps me to remain stable. Let me just focus on learning the language. I'm actually not hurt by this. I'm not less of a person. Because sometimes we
Yeah.
react that way also. When somebody says,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's wrong," or let's say this is a dumb idea. The person is
Yeah.
criticizing the idea. He's not
Yeah.
really criticizing you. Like if someone says your idea
Yeah.
is dumb, it doesn't mean you're dumb. The idea is dumb. So
Yeah.
that's one technique I use a lot, which is just, oh, I'm not diminished by this.
Yeah.
And also there's the other side of it, which is praise. You know, praise is also a problem. Like someone says, "Oh wow, you're
Yeah.
so amazing." Like that, if that gets
Yeah.
in your head, you stop learning also. Have you experienced that with
Yeah.
praise?
Yeah, that's true. I experienced that like in a bad way. Like I was at my when I started the job that I told you about, right? I was I had a somebody coaching me, you know, because the new people get coached because like we have to acquire sales skills. But I have been good in a lot of stuff in my life, you know, like languages, education, you know, I get good grades, you know. My so like almost many things that I get that I start end good. So
Yeah.
I was like, I had this idea of me that I am like, I'm awesome. I don't need no help, you know.
Uh-huh.
But then it was really frustrating because I was not doing a good job, you know. When my coach would come to me and would be like, "Do you need help?" I would be like, "No, I'm fine." But in my heart, I know that I am doing a wrong job and that I should learn from my mistakes. But I was like, no, I can do it by myself. I can do it all by myself, you know. And then eventually, I got fired because I wasn't willing. This went on for 2 weeks, 2 straight weeks. My coach was trying to teach me, but I was blocking. You know, I was
Yes.
like, no, I don't want this. And then when I got fired, that is when I thought about it and I was like, yeah, mindset. I went there, mindset, you know, like
Yeah.
I can do it by myself. And then the second time, I decided that not only would I listen when my coach would teach me, but I would proactively go and ask if I have, maybe every hour I would go and ask, like, you look for the past hour, how was my performance? And then I would improve on that, you know. Yeah. So I think that is another thing. Like, if you look proactive, feel somebody comes to you and it's like, okay, I really want to talk to you about something that you did wrong, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is correct. Anyways, dude, we can talk like forever, but we gotta cut this short at some point. Uh, yeah, otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, we could go for a long time. So, guys, that was Tony Walks.
Yeah.
As you can see, he has many interesting ideas. I really want you to go to his channel. Yes, I want you to go to his channel, Afrolingo. I'll put the link in the description. Go and check it out because Tony's videos are even not that long. They're short videos, very well produced, very entertaining, very educative at the same time. So you'll have a lot of fun. Go subscribe to the channel and watch his videos. Yeah, thanks a lot, Tony, for coming on the show. Yeah, it was really a
Thank
pleasure
you for
talking to you.
having.
All right. Okay, so let me talk to the guys in the community a bit. So thanks very much, guys, for watching. So sometimes I make interviews like this, and also on Mondays I publish an in-depth video where I go deep into the principles of language learning. That video usually comes out at 8 a.m. Central African time every Monday. And then from Tuesday to Sunday, I publish a video a day typically. And the videos are one for the road series, where it's a short video. I give you one idea to take with you on the road, to think about
Yeah.
language learning idea. As usual, if you have any questions or criticism or anything that you'd like to tell me, just send me an email. polyglotprinciples@gmail.com. That's in the description. And in particular, my goal is to have 3,000 plus subscribers by August 1st, 2021. So that's next year. If you have any idea of how I can do that, any suggestion, I want to hear it. Go to the description of this video. And see my email and send me an email, polyglotprinciples@gmail.com. The first way to support me is like this video, subscribe, hit the bell notification, ding, 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 ding. Yes, that will be the first step. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching this video and hope to catch you on the next one. Bye. All right, let's stop the recording.